Can you make me the co-host, please?
Hello, everybody. The time is 11:18. The Zoom is back up, and we're waiting to make sure people that were in the waiting room are in. Looks like for now they are. All right. So we had started to do the overhire for sheriff's office request. And that was interrupted, so we'll start anew on that one. Today we have presenting Sheriff Kevin Armstrong and Shanda Johnson, Human Resources Director. And this is a resolution to overhire, which means to have a person in the position at the same time. All right, tell us what's up.
Good morning, commissioners. Back in February, I was advised that my administrative manager, who's been with the sheriff's office for 30 years, wants to retire. She gave me a date of February 6th of 2027. And I have since received an email from her requesting the date to be moved up to January 9th.
Oh, goodness.
So as a result of this is what we did is we started a process to fill that position. We had 19 applicants at that time, and of that, 5 were scheduled to be interviewed. And I took on the full responsibility of this process due to the fact that there was a number of applicants that were either related or well-known to my staff. So I did not involve them in the process with the exception of Shanda Johnson and also Christina Mahoney. As a result of that, we ended up interviewing 4 applicants that were very well qualified and highly qualified. And in the process, we had a process that included an oral board that also had the undersheriff from Boulder County, a commander from that is retired from Wheat Ridge, and then 2 executive managers that operate or work under the same job descriptor as the one that we have for our administrative manager, one from Blackhawk and one from Wheat Ridge. Then we also had a written test that was involved in this process. One was a scenario. Both of them were scenarios. One was a policy change and how that would write a policy change to staff relative to that. And then also a press release relating to a officer-involved shooting. So as a written exercise to see how well they wrote. They could not use AI. They could not use any other instruments other than what they could bring to the table. As a result of that, there was one person that came out on top of that. And that person, what I'm requesting to hire early in the sense that we can get them on board to work with our current administrative manager to gain the institutional knowledge and expertise that she has to offer and to educate that individual that we want to hire so that they have a good working and step into the role early, since now January 9th is now the date that we need. We're running out of short time of a lot of information that has to be done. A lot of this information that our current manager has is statute required through whether it's concealed weapons permits, sex assault or sex offender violators, registering, civil processes, records management, records keeping, retention, release. There's a ton of stuff that this individual is going to have to become familiar with, not just from a legal process, but also from a sheriff's office perspective as well, from the Gilpin County Sheriff's Office. So my request is to hire this individual early. We have the money in our budget from salary savings to be able to accommodate this overhire.
Do you have anything to add?
I know just that finance has confirmed that as well.
Are there any questions or discussion, commissioners?
No, I just do think that especially for a important position like this, overhiring is something that's necessary. So we make sure the person hired has enough relevant background and training to go forward and be successful.
So when we conduct a hiring, what we do when we're asked to assist in HR is we complete a matrix that shows all the qualifications for the candidates. So the sheriff selected the individuals that meet the qualifications. Then the independent panel really verified that as well as the exercises. So we do believe this is the most qualified candidate for this position.
I have a couple questions on the resolution itself. Given that Sheriff Armstrong just said the date is now January 9th, so we'll need to change that. And then do we need to change the period not to exceed, because it's really only going to be 2 months, isn't it?
Yeah, we can modify that and send that over this morning. That was actually just news that occurred this morning.
At 8 o'clock this morning, I got that text message.
Good for her. Hard for us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's been your left-hand person, as they say, right?
Yes,
For
ma'am.
that long, yeah.
Very valuable individual.
And then I do see under the legal impacts that you've provided some more information for us to just be aware of. Do you have any questions or comments?
No, will we meet this person soon?
I'm sorry.
Will we meet this person soon?
Well, once you approve this, obviously,
Yeah.
then we'll, HR will be doing the background for me
Okay.
and everything and getting this person onboarded as soon as possible.
If there's no further discussion, I entertain a motion.
Okay. Move to approve resolution 24-1.
25.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Resolution 25-124, authorizing the overhire of the administrative manager for the sheriff's office.
I second.
With the edits discussed. Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I hope the
Appreciate it.
person accepts.
Yep.
Thank you.
much.
And Director Johnson is working on some changes to the employee handbook. So those will be coming at a future date for board consideration, and there'll be some language that would address the relationship and give some clarity there.
Now, we have resolution 25-123. This is requiring justification and approval prior to filling any vacant or soon to be vacant position. And presenting, oh, it looks like it's County Manager Rears, not
Sure, I'll start off and then
Director
there's a-
Johnson. Right? Okay.
yeah, if there's an opportunity for Director Johnson to add in. So during the work session last week, through the conversations about the safety sensitive positions, the board gave direction for preparation of a new policy. Would be in addition to the master policy manual, adding in policy 23, specifically addressing justification and approval prior to filling any vacant or soon to be vacant position. As the board's aware, there's been there's been direction received through the budget process of many vacant positions have been pulled for consideration as we're preparing the budget for 2026. And there's more interest in ensuring that prior to when a vacant position comes up, that there's some evaluation done and we're just not automatically filling vacant positions if there's something else that could be done for the position, kind of looking at it individually as vacant positions come up on occasion throughout the organization. So this draft was prepared during the work session, then shared with the board during that work session with consideration today. I did redline this version and give you a copy of it based on the comments received from Mary Lorenz, the treasurer. So I did make a revision in the red under section 3 that the county manager, after consultation with the human resource director within 10 business days, shall review each justification for completeness, and then the rest remains, basically adding in the 10 business days. And then I also added in a section, is it print correctly? I guess it printed on just one side, so I apologize. And then I added in the section, and I can print it off if you'd like to see it, basically clarifying the appeal process, that if an elected official wanted to appeal to the board for the position after the determination's been made by the county manager, that they're able to do that. So I can print that off if you'd like to see it. But it is correct to say that the broader staff has not been involved in this consideration since it's was a request made by the board on Tuesday. Since that request was made, I have asked Human Resources to pause any further applications, any postings until the board made their decision today. So if you wanted to wait, absolutely possible for sure. But we would then release any of the open positions now until the board takes a formal action. And that's it at a high level. I don't know if Director Johnson wants to add anything further to this.
I just have a question since we don't, where were you putting the appeal clause in?
I added a new section under 4. Let me pull it up. And I can print it out. I don't know why it did it weird. So under 4, appeal to the Board of County Commissioners. Within 10 business days following a written decision of the county manager, the impacted elected official may appeal the decision made by the county manager, which will be placed on the next available regular Board of County Commissioner meeting for consideration.
And 10 business days.
10 business, that they have 10 business days from the decision to register an appeal, and then it would just be placed in whatever the regular cycle is for the Board of County Commissioners consideration.
But it says business days, not days.
Correct.
All right. I know I have some comments and suggested edits. Do either of you?
And I did also send this to the treasurer as well, and I'm not sure if I got comments back. I can share those as well.
And even if we don't get to passing this today, I don't understand pausing hiring because the policy currently is to keep moving forward. You said you have some paused?
So there has been, there's some openings now, and we just wanted to wait until the board took action today. But if the board doesn't take action today, essentially it was a week. And I thought there was a reasonable amount of time to confirm if the direction of the board is to look deeper into any vacant positions. So I waited, as for the human resources, to wait for the 7 days essentially, so that this could be formally considered, because I didn't want to move forward with, seemed like very clear direction to look at any vacant positions to determine the level of need.
So they're not posted. They're not posted yet, is what you've paused?
Correct.
Okay, not ones that are in process.
No.
Okay. All right. So who wants to start with your comments? One of you start, and then I'll jump in.
Well, I guess since it was stated that this was through board direction, I guess to state our thinking why when we were going through the budget process, that we're having to think and consider very carefully the money that's being spent for our departments, and just making sure also that there are a number of positions that the job descriptions haven't been reviewed, and to kind of help that process along.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate, I think it's not uncommon for employers to look at positions before they automatically get posted to see if they're meeting the current needs. Sometimes people are doing much more. Sometimes the job as written is based in a more basic need in the past. And so it is a good time to update it to the current needs. And then just have, do you need this position versus something else that you've identified as supervisors, including elected officials in your department. So it gives voice to the supervisory staff to really be able to talk to the county manager and HR to let us know, because it kind of funnels to us whether the jobs are what you need at this point in time.
Yeah. And I think it was part of the thinking was to also help with retention, because we have a job description versus then the person gets into the actual position and doing those. And sometimes they feel what they were hired for in terms of the job description. When they have boots on the ground, it may vary or be something different. So we want to make sure that there's clarity across the board.
And also, although it's been infrequent, there have been times where during the budget process, department directors have actually said they didn't need as much staffing. And so that was an opportunity to make a decision to reduce staffing in certain areas without affecting county operations and service to the public. So those were more considerations. All right, so on the resolution and the policy itself, I can start, but go ahead. I know. Okay, well, everyone's being so shy.
Well, I took into account what our treasurer and county clerk did. Those are elected positions, and they are in charge of the hiring of their respective personnel. And I'm just wondering how this would affect them, if they want to clarify some more, or I think I don't know if this takes away some of their powers, I guess, or whether this affects that they have to first hear from the county manager that there's going to be a hiring process, and then comes back to them, or and how it comes back to us. I'm just not sure the timeline of everything.
Yeah, I think in 2.0, it does give kind of the steps. A job description review, which is to be done by the department head or elected official. So they're included in this process.
Do you visualize this just being a form so that the supervisor, the hiring supervisor would fill out this form and just fill in the blank on these 5 areas? Is that how you visualize this being done?
I think that's a possibility. It could streamline it.
Okay.
I imagine it would look similar to like the PPP forms that people are familiar with, and give them certain prompts for the justification of the positions.
Right. Do you have a suggestion of how to write that better in this policy? That's always helpful.
I'm not sure that I want to study this whole process again, but if there is the policy does not explicitly alter the process. Sections 3 and 3.4 together would allow a county manager to take actions that could have similar practical effects, stranding funds or redefining the use outside of board review.
Oh,
Is that-
I guess I'm asking in the policy itself, do you have a suggestion for wording?
No.
I didn't,
That's, uh,
if you want to ponder it a little bit, I have some specific suggestions. One is that on the resolution, one is just a typo in the fourth whereas, overtime. And then on the now therefore be it resolved, I would like to have added number 3, the Board of County Commissioners retains final decisions in any staff reductions. And then on the policy itself, on 3.4, I would like to change the wording in that to follow the wording 3.3, that the county manager would recommend to the Board of County Commissioners to deny a request with justification. And then also the sentence after that to say final authority for the creation of new positions or elimination or reduction of positions or significant departmental reorganization shall remain with the Board of County Commissioners. And the reason I would like to add those is that those are the steps that do set with the county commissioners. We are the ones that are responsible, not just from the budget point of view of a budgeting staff, but also the overall approval of the organization and the staffing in the organization. And I don't, the way that it reads now sounds like we defer that to the county manager, which I personally am not willing to do because it's a board responsibility.
Madam Chair, I think you might want to add reclassification of positions.
Reclassification?
Yeah, to the things that you would do as a board. You've got new positions, deletion of positions, or I guess from reduction, I think you said.
Yeah, I said,
departmental reorganization, and like that midpoint would be taking a position and changing it, which is something I think the board alluded to in its our discussion of it.
right.
In that somebody, might have a job description X and an actual workload Y, and you might need to figure out how to realign that.
All right, so that would mean that 3.4 would read that, because it's preface on the county manager shall recommend to Board of County Commissioners the denial of a request with justification. And then, I don't know, should the next one be a numbered item or just be a emphasis item? Because that's really where the is. Final authority for the creation of new positions, elimination or reduction of positions, and reclassification of positions or significant departmental reorganizations shall remain with the Board of County Commissioners. Do you feel like that should be a 3.5 or just a standalone?
It should be flush text in that 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, and 3.4 are what the county manager is responsible for doing. And
Right.
if we put that in 3.5, it would confuse the text.
Could it be 4.0 just so that it's
I don't think so. I think
especially emphasized?
the law is that the county commission controls that. The way this is set up, I'm not concerned organizationally that it's under 3.0.
Okay.
Review is the county manager. Approval is the Board of County Commissioners. It comports with the heading. Theoretically, if you wanted to move everything in one outline, it would be 3.1, the county manager after consultation, 3.1.1, 3.1.2, 3.1.3, 3.1.4, and then 3.2 final authority. You could do that as an outline technique, but I don't think it's legally necessary.
Okay, so you think it's just a final statement is the way that's formatted now is fine?
I think that provides the sufficient level of clarity surrounding how this is going to go.
All right.
Appropriate for a manual of this nature.
So this is just my recommendation. I'm wondering if my fellow commissioners agree with that?
That this is just a recommendation?
It's my recommendation to make those changes.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with those changes.
Let's see. So I was going to say just, I guess with the final authority, that's would be important. Yes, I would agree to include that.
All right. Is that clear to you, County Manager?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, the only question I have is the other suggestion is putting a time frame. And it's suggested is the 10 business days that you're interested in adding that in or not.
I think a time frame, as long as it says business days, is fine because we have short weeks. And then so I think the two of you, I'm hearing maybe one feels like the elected officials' authority is in here and one's not sure it's emphasized enough. Do either of you have a suggested edit? Do you,
Well, in just reading like I said, 2.0, it does state that both the department head or elected official will provide the written justification and then what the 5 different points of those are.
I think maybe the question raised earlier was, should elected officials be asked to do that?
I would think so because we are given the overall as the Board of County Commissioners, as we said, the final authority for the creation of new positions or a reduction of positions.
We are keeping that authority with the board.
Right. So since we do have the final authority overall.
Commissioner Aiken suggested earlier calling on the elected officials who commented earlier. They're both in the room. Do you have any further comments about the elected officials and this policy?
So the 4-0.
People elected us to manage the department. And to make our own decisions.
Do you have a suggested edit to the policy that reflects that? Are you opposed to doing would it be an undue burden to do the written justification to the county manager?
If we are comments on where they come forward, it's not reporting. Good morning, Commissioners. When we have a vacancy in the department, we already submit a request for hire and review the job description at that time. I think that's something that's just ongoing with their departments.
So
I don't know about justifying a confirmation of need and employment type evaluation. I mean, I don't think any of us would be making a request for a position to hire that position if we didn't need it.
do you have any suggested edits to this?
No, I'd really have to sit and review it I have a bunch of the notes of things that you were tossing out there.
So the suggestion for the 10 days, or it can be anything, they could just, under 3.0, it could just start within 10 business days. And then the rest would remain. So that gives the time period. And 10 business days is just a suggestion to address the comment. So
Seems fair. It
Mhm.
doesn't bog it down on either side. Yeah. Because if it's done in 2 days, this is just the longest.
correct.
So how much time did you have before you saw this? Was this from 2 weeks ago?
This was not shared with any staff. This was drafted at the work session a week ago and then shared with the board at the end of the work session. And this was not shared other than as part of the packet for today's meeting.
Right, I saw it in the packet when that was
Was-
posted.
It was actually shared shortly after the work session individually with us, just to look at, not during the work session, yeah.
I'd be open if, to maybe review this at our next meeting and then that would give the directors, both directors elected and all, to go over it and collect some notes and
I would really
come with some
appreciate that.
suggestions.
I would really
Yeah, I
appreciate.
would like to
that.
go that way.
And then as far as pausing postings right now, are there just a couple?
There's currently 3 openings waiting to be posted.
And are they longstanding positions?
One of them was actually a detentions officer. The other is a maintenance facilities tech 1, and the other is digital media technician.
And doesn't exist, they're all 3 existing positions
They are.
that we've budgeted, correct? Yeah.
So this wouldn't affect the hiring of those.
Well, I think that's kind of why I'm asking.
Actually, it would, because we have to have an opening for 1 week. And we do have someone who's a possible candidate for the detentions position.
So my personal opinion is to go ahead and post those. Those are, positions that have been in place for a while, and we've already heard from departments during the initial budget about their current needs. I don't recall any of them being identified as reductions. Do you recall any of those reductions?
No.
All right, so
Yeah.
would you like them to go ahead and just post them?
Yeah, I would say we go ahead and post those, and then I was kind of assuming that this is something going forward, starting in, say, January of
Right.
26.
So please go ahead and post those 3 positions and don't pause them any longer. Okay. And then we'll just revisit this at our next meeting. And Sheriff Armstrong? Hello.
Well, I appreciate you suspending this for a while until we actually have a conversation about this. I was not aware of the work session that involved this particular resolution. In the sheriff's office, we constantly evaluate every position that we have and the need, not a want, but a need within for public safety, which includes the video technician position that has statutorial obligations and legal obligations associated with body worn camera footage. That position we would like to also get in as soon as possible so that we can get that person in to also train ahead of before that the current person in that role has already announced that she's retiring. So we need to, there's a lot of information, a lot of training, a lot of knowledge to keep the sheriff's office and the county out of legal battles associated with body worn cameras.
I would just ask that everyone, all staff that would like to review this, wait until we have the revised version based on our comments today and take it from there. I think we're trying to capture some some feedback that we received in our own reading of this after the work session to make it better.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we don't need to.
So I'd likely add this to the work session. It sounds like a good work session topic on the 4th. And then I will share the draft with SLT. So everyone will have an opportunity to review it and ask for any sort of feedback.
I don't think we need
We need a work
entire
session.
work session.
I think what's more important is to get it out to staff and then have it discussed in a hybrid meeting, which would be our next meeting.
The thought is that the broader staff may not be aware of it and they may have more comments or want to have more of a discussion that would be better suited for a work session, but I'll go first.
Our next work session is at the community center because of election day. So some people won't be able to attend anyway because it's election days. I think that, you know, staff are welcome to submit comments to Shanda, Ray, both. Yeah, copy.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
One of us.
Yeah.
I want to thank the elected officials for their input in this. So,
Right, yeah, that's why we're gonna.
Carry on.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for your feedback. Next on the agenda, we added an item, and this is a resolution 25-1,
Whatever the next one is, we
25. And I believe County Manager Rears is presenting this to
And
us.
then I'll ask Director Keenan to join. He will have some more and potentially more information on the specifics. But as you're aware, the annex is under construction. The contractor, A.D. Miller, has been working with, as well as Facilities Director Keenan, working with the Blackhawk Central City Sanitation District. The current pantry is connected to the sewer line. The portion of the sewer line that is owns that belongs to the county, and then eventually connects to the sanitation district down by the city of Blackhawk. Since there's an agreement in place for connection to the sewer line, it's been in place for quite a while. They requested an amendment to the agreement. So before you is Amendment 6 to the agreement, basically confirming the conditions and the process for connecting to the sewer line. I did attend the sanitation district meeting yesterday. I have a full understanding of the conditions. They are reasonable conditions. The main aspect was we wanted to move forward on this before this building season ended. Once the ground froze, then it would increase costs. There'd be a secondary mobilization fee associated with it. So they were very amenable to kind of fast track this week. Seems like the theme of kind of fast track last minute things, trying to, though important. And so they approved it yesterday. It's here for your consideration. They are expecting this to be accepted. The tap fee was lowered from 15,000 to 12,750 as a credit for the existing food pantry, which will be demolished and disconnected as soon as we are able to do that. So that's it at a high level. Director Keenan prepared the resolution here before you. Attorney Messenger has reviewed it, had no concerns. And I'll defer to Director Keenan if you want to add anything further regarding the project or this request.
Welcome.
Good, almost afternoon.
Right.
So, as Manager Rears stated, this has just kind of been fast tracked as we're trying to get a lot of the earthwork done for the community annex. We've put in the tap to the water system. We're looking to do a tie into the sewer system as well while the ground isn't frozen and while the excavators are currently on site. So that's a big part of why this is really being asked to be fast tracked, because also as County Manager Rears stated that we want to avoid a remobilization fee of the excavators to dig these trenches and tie into the sewer system. The sanitation district brought these conditions forward to us, and Manager Rears, like you said, sat in on their meeting and coordinated a lot of these efforts to make sure we can get this amendment to the IGA put together. These are their conditions, and I think more or less it's what they're asking. It's almost what we need to do. I don't want to put it in a position where we say we have to do this right now, right away, because we need to get this done and therefore not look at the details. But I do think time is an issue where if we have to remobilize excavators, there will be a remobilization cost involved with that. So I think that's the balance here, is just making sure we review the items in the IGA amendment. And if there's questions or thoughts about them, we can discuss them. But otherwise, yeah, time is becoming a bit of an issue at this point now.
So it looks like there are two fees included. One is to go forward, and one is if we don't do our side and abandon the other, there would just be an additional fee. So that's not payable at this time.
Correct.
That's correct.
Mhm.
But I've assured the district that the plan as well as it's part of 80 Miller to demolish the food pantry as soon as practical.
Okay. And I guess I'd ask Ryan, are there any surprises or anything that you felt kind of like out of the ordinary with this, or is it just pretty well
No.
meeting their services or what's needed technically for the service?
No, there's 8 conditions. One of them is just highlighting the payment. 3 of them are essentially just edits to the construction plan sets to include their details and details they want to see. And then 2 other items really, they just want us to install a flow meter on our flows that go down to their sanitation district, as well as they want us to remap the existing conditions of our sewer lines and the campus area. And I think that it's definitely feasible, but it's something to be aware of that clearly we have to pay for as well. We don't have that pricing, and I discussed this with Manager Rears that the folks at the sanitation district likely have very good resources to help us do that. That'll involve survey and engineer work to remap that and draw those plans out officially. But that is one of the conditions to be aware of here that I think they've been requesting for quite some time.
Yeah, it's actually been imposed on the county for a number of years. We just haven't complied with it. So this time we will be complying with the conditions they've imposed.
Okay. Okay.
So this spells it all out. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this? If not, I'll entertain a question.
I move that we adopt resolution 25-125. Sorry, 126, okay. 25-126, authorizing the county manager to review and approve with guidance from the county attorney amendment number 6 to the intergovernmental agreement with the Blackhawk Central City Sanitation District regarding the sewer tap service for the community annex facility.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. Thanks for your work.
Right,
Yeah,
thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Next on our agenda, we have another added in item. This is a discussion. I'll add brief discussion regarding the EPIC grant. This was also in a work session just last week, right, a week ago. And my understanding, there's some new information.
If I could just invite the manager of strategic projects to come as well. So if Jerry could join, because she was involved in additional review the board requested from the work session.
Perfect. So presenting today, we have Director Gabriel Chisholm, Parks and Recreation. We have Director Lisa Witt, Public Health. Is Jerry going to present? Will Jerry be presenting some information?
No, just here if the board has any questions, because that seemed like a key element of the direction you asked her to investigate.
We did at that point in time. But
Yes.
We'll see what this new information is. All right, who wants to start?
If it's okay, I'll start. Good morning, good afternoon, commissioners. So this grant did have a short timeline, so we apologize that we didn't have all of the information at the work session. I've looked through the extensive FAQs for the grant and verified with CDPHE and with other local public health directors in Colorado. It just so happened that the day after our work session on Tuesday, I was at a statewide meeting with all directors for the state of Colorado, and the majority of them are applying through their local public health agency for this grant because it is a rather large grant over a 5-year period. It is a competitive grant. And so we may not, if we do decide to go ahead and apply for it, it isn't, of course, guaranteed that we will be awarded this grant, as many of the other grants I work on are. But this is a public health grant, and it's as I said in the work session, an opportunity that I had looked into in the past because it is such large funding. It's just been reformulated from the Communities That Care Coalition into this EPIC format. So what I've passed out today is a preliminary budget that if the board agrees that it makes sense to apply, this would be my beginning point of the application. I'm very familiar in my years of working in public health with public health grants. They're extremely flexible, so budgets are allowed to be resubmitted at any point in time. They're not set in stone by any means. And they do that purposely because of exactly what's happened with this grant. We have other grants that come that we weren't aware of that could shift some of the costs to those new grants for existing things that we're already doing. One of the reasons that I felt it was important to apply for this grant is behavioral health. A behavioral health alliance or coalition is something that I already had plans doing, and this grant would help fund that work. So just looking at this preliminary budget that I would propose, I would be moving, shifting, offsetting our community health specialist position, which is now covered at approximately 48% by a grant that's ending this year, to this grant, and that's what those numbers are. And then 0.25 of my time for overseeing and managing the coalition as well. And then a very small portion of the funds would be allocated to the existing youth program staff at the community center. What's also nice, and I pointed this out at the work session, but we didn't have the hard numbers, is because we have a indirect rate negotiated, already approved by CDPHE, a good portion of this grant, $30,000, almost would go, if this budget is the final budget, that could shift as well. We're allowed to charge indirect on our personnel salaries and benefits. And so $30,000 in this first year would be money that would cover overhead for the county and go into the Public Health Agency Fund to help offset the balance that's going to be reduced year over year, as we talked about. We are not required, and I've confirmed this, to hire staff. We can apportion this work over existing staff, and we could elect to hire a part-time consultant so that it wouldn't be burdensome on our already pretty busy workload for public health right now. And I already have a couple of people in mind that would be excellent for that role. We could also shift some of the money that we're already spending on other grants through the youth program grant that the substance abuse block grant that's already paying for the life skills program could be shifted to this. The behavioral health website that I had wanted to get through GROC could be a good fit for this grant as well. Plus, we've been asked by the school that same evening that we had the work session, we were at the District Accountability Commission, our committee meeting at the Gilpin School, and we were asked by the principal and the superintendent to help develop a middle school curriculum for next school year. The Healthy Kids Colorado survey is going to happen at the Gilpin School this year in a much bigger way, and that's also a part of this grant. So I think we're well positioned for the work. We're already doing many aspects of what this grant requires, and since I started here almost 4 years ago, I have been looking at the Communities That Care Coalition grant because it's always been a large grant that most other public health agencies have benefited from, and we just haven't had the opportunity in the past to do that. And I do feel that now is the right time, and that if we don't apply for it, we will be missing out on $800,000 to $2 million over the next 5 years. Food is allowable, which always helps for meetings. We could fund meals for the first responders MAC meetings and use up part of that meeting for our coalition. We could, there's many different ways that we can apply this. It's a very generous grant with a very flexible budget. And the only question and what I wish I had more time for, I'm more than able to apply for this grant by next Monday at 5 p.m. But we are not currently classified as rural resort, which would give us more points and more chance of being awarded this grant. And I just spoke to our community development director to see if we could become reclassified. It's probably too late, but it's something that I could still write into the grant that we do qualify, even though we haven't been classified. And that was from a bill, House Bill 1223, and they do have ongoing meetings where you could, through the Department of Local Affairs, request that we be reclassified as rural resort. Just looking preliminary at it, it does look like we should qualify. We just haven't asked for that yet. And that would give us more points. It's based on cost of living and housing. So I'm done with my speech. Thank you.
Do you have anything to add, Gabriel?
Just from the Parks and Rec perspective, as we talked about in the work session, we currently do have the challenge grant through the Department of Law. So the Public Health Coalition would really be the main focus for the first couple of years, but then we can always ask for more funds to help supplement the upstream preventative programming that we're already providing for the last 2 years of this grant. So that's just kind of a recap of, it would help continue our programs after our other grant expires.
And how long are you currently funded for with your current
The
grant?
challenge grant will expire in June of 2028.
So until 2028.
This grant goes July 2026 to June 2031.
Right, but until 20, I mean, to be honest, the only difference I see is some work in terms of doing, pulling together alliances. Other than that, I just have concerns because I know we did ask Jerry Brewer, our new strategic program manager, to look at this, and she did come away with, from what I hear, that we did need to hire. It was clear that we needed to hire someone.
We absolutely do not.
But we had asked her to look at it, and that's what she came with. And I just kind of feel blindsided, and like the process was set out, and we did that and got the answer, and then all of a sudden, kind of in a roundabout way, now it's brought back before us. I really don't see anything different. And one thing that does concern me again is that your community health specialist is funded for a certain 47% up until a deadline. And then, once that goes away, because that has been a grant funded position, especially at a time where we're looking and we have a policy up that we're evaluating positions and things for our other necessary departments that we're statutory obligated to fulfill. And then we kind of have this. I mean, well, in a perfect world, if everything were set, I would say no problem, we can go ahead. But we're in very tenuous times, even though it does say that, it's state and federally funded. A lot of programming that has been guaranteed in the past with maybe some changes is going away. So I'm just very concerned this is kind of going against some of the goals we set for our budget process. And I don't see anything new being offered because we currently have a lot of these programs and they're already being funded. So I just see a redundancy with more money, which concerns me because that money may not be there. And, I'm not shedding doubt on anyone's prior experience or anything like that, but capacity for public health has been a concern and has been directly stated many times. And then we're kind of adding this whole a couple of layers here, which I've stated in the work session, and I'll state again, is concerning to me that we're just chasing after dollars without the true capacity to handle the programming.
So during the work session, we did give direction to have Jerry look at the grant. Unfortunately, we didn't hear directly back. We just inferred that it had been put aside because it wasn't on the agenda, but we didn't hear back any justification. So I don't have that information. And then I know that I saw Elisa at just by happenstance over at the Human Services Building, and she said that she had had this meeting. There was a possibility of a consultant. So for me, that was a different possibility than hiring staff. So what your interpretation of reading is that it requires new staff be hired? or can that be done with existing staff?
Sorry if I misspoke. Actually, it's just my understanding of it from just reading it, not privy to other conversations, that it's the requirement of a full-time staff. So whether it's an existing staff can be, and also potentially subcontractors, but wouldn't have to be a new staff, but it would have to be a one FTE committed to this grant, is my understanding from just reading it.
Because in the work session, my recollection was that if it required hiring new staff, we said, no, thank you. So you're saying it doesn't require new staff?
Correct.
The new staff would be budgeted for, right? In the grant.
Within the grant,
if
yes.
they-
But we don't have it, we don't have it budgeted. It was not brought forward to us in the budget process, so it is not currently budgeted, because this is something where they refund or they repay us. So we need to pay and have the budget there, and then we do get the money back, is how this grant works.
And is this a one-year proposal? This budget, it says 2026.
Right.
Then in the work session, you fleshed out all 5 years. And as you said, it would be public health heavier for the coalition, and then take on funding that will be lost unless future grants are received for the youth program, right? Yeah. And then you're saying that this would help to fill in grants that are ending.
Correct.
To retain current staffing, and yours would help fill in retaining current staffing. So no increase in staffing. Okay, that was a big point for me in the work session, was no new staffing, increased staffing, which I'm hearing this isn't. And then the consultant is a possibility. And how did you decide how much time the consultant would have versus staff?
Well, so, this would be a new initiative to have this Behavioral Health Alliance. I'm already moving ahead with the alliance, whether we get funding or not. But having a consultant on board of 10 hours a week would allow for that person to have more face-to-face meetings with the individual agencies and departments that we would like to coordinate with, including our outside partners, which, when you talk about staff capacity and time, that's one of the biggest time factors, is being able to have those relationship building meetings and face-to-face meetings. And that's what I was hoping to have a consultant help with. For this coalition to work, for the Behavioral Health Alliance that I have in mind, which I had in mind before I even knew about this grant opportunity, is really bringing our partners together. And I know this sounds silly, it seems like a small point, but having a grant that pays for food actually makes a big deal when you're building a coalition, and being able to host that and have that consultant help with organizing those meetings, making sure the right people are at the table, and being able to provide a luncheon that people are more likely to come and participate. That's just the nature of what I've done in my work over the years. So that 0.25, I think, again, for our small community, one of the things that we always need to remember with CDPHE grants is they typically write them for much larger populations, for communities like Jeffco and Delta County and some of these other counties. But for us, it really doesn't require as much staff time as the grant broadly outlined to be able to do the coalition in our community. We're talking about bringing together all of our existing first responder agencies, all of our outside partners, everybody that works in the rapidly changing behavioral health space, which requires coordination for it to be effective. All of the money and the partners that are coming into the county will not be effective. I've already been working very closely with Advocates for Recovery Colorado, because they have asked for my help.
Yeah, and you explained all that in the work session. I wanted to try to keep this as brief as possible. So Commissioner Aiken, do you have any questions or comments?
I think it would be a mistake to not let them apply at this time, at least apply for it. Whether it's granted or not, I think they have some valid points. I think anytime you are looking at funding in the future, and the fact that Commissioner Berman pointed out that grants could be defunded down the road. If they were defunded down the road, then those positions would be eliminated and we go back to square one. It's not that we would have to keep those people on, but I think this is a good opportunity that we should take hold of. So that's all I got.
Could I ask a question? I don't want to
Yeah.
take out a turn. Yes?
I have a,
Mm.
so I guess when this was in the work session, I was thinking that this would just be funded to the county like other public health prior, and then you would tap into it to spend. But are you saying this is a reimbursement? So we would have to fund it through our budget and then be reimbursed? Can you just clarify that?
Well, what we're doing is we're just doing what I always do with public health grants is I apportion out the amount of hours that existing staff are going to be spending on this project. It will go through our payroll system and we do monthly invoices.
Let me
We're
be clear.
reimbursed for staff that's already on board for work that they're doing applying to
So
this grant.
let me clarify, maybe I didn't ask that well. Sometimes grants are given to us. We get, the county's approved. The money comes, it sits in the county coffers and then is tapped into to spend what the grant's intended to do. Other times, the county puts forward the money first and then does or the project or acquires the equipment and then gets reimbursed. So in that case, we have to fund that first. So which type of grant is this?
So this would be from the Public Health Agency Fund. All of my grants, every grant I do either is paid automatically on a quarterly basis. This is reimbursed monthly
It's reimbursed, but,
for costs incurred.
so we have to cover the cost until it's reimbursed,
That's very typical for public health. I have many grants like that.
which gives
And
me.
that's why we have the fund, the Public Health Agency Fund. That's to do public health work.
And I know right now that fund's at 400,000.
It's lower now. It's down to
It's around
about
there.
300.
It's around 400,000.
Okay. And it will keep going down every year unless we have funds like this to supplant.
So if we were to, we, meaning the county, get the grant, and then we didn't budget for this the following year because we need to cut back things, then that would end and the money wouldn't come. We would just forego the money at that point. We're not getting like a big pot of money.
No, correct.
Okay, that,
Correct. But that's how public health work is done. That's why there is a public health agency fund balance.
right. And I know public health is statutory. We do have to have public health. Yeah.
Right. Marie's position is budgeted. My position is budgeted.
Right.
Please
but
say the
consultant
position
isn't.
name.
Right.
And are there increases in, I mean, if you, since you've broken out for both you and Marie in that and program staff, are we increasing what they're being paid because they're taking on increased duties?
No, that's not in the plan.
So we're paying them the same to do more work.
Well, yeah, but this is within so as the public health director, I know that we have the bandwidth to do this work or I would not be proposing it.
Because, before you had said there wasn't a consultant brought into the picture.
Well,
And now there is. And then I just have questions regarding the school engagement with the Healthy Kids Colorado. I know that's pretty well comes from the state, has all the guidance and everything. But then I have questions regarding developing a middle school health curriculum. Is that something that comes directly from the state, or are you having to start something bottom line? I just kind of wonder about, is that within your purview as a director of public health for Gilpin County, for the county, because you're infringing and projecting something into a school district?
I'm not injecting. I've been asked to consult.
So you're consulting.
Yes. With the new, because I used to be the middle school health teacher and they have a new PE teacher who has not taught it before. So the principal asked me if I would work with him to develop that course.
Right. So is that really in your purview as a director of public health?
Yes, I'm a master
The county.
certified health education specialist. That's my
I just
background
have
and expertise.
Right. I'm not saying you don't have the expertise. I'm just saying we as a county do not have any purview or anything over a school district. So that's kind of blurring the lines to me to develop a curriculum.
It's
as
only,
the public health director for the county.
it's because of my previous relationship with the school, and it's because of a new principal there, and it's because our engagement with the school has been expanding since the new principal came on board. And this is a way for us to improve. This is directly what this grant is for. It's focused on youth prevention. And so they're not currently even, since I left, they're not even doing a middle school health class anymore. And the principal recognized that and asked if I would help bring that back next school year. The curriculum's already been developed. It's curriculum I used in the past. It would just be working and coaching with their new teacher and doing a couple of guest teaching classes on subjects like alcohol and marijuana and substance abuse. And that is directly in line with the purpose of this grant. This is why the money is being offered. It's the whole purpose of the grant.
So you would help develop the curriculum, but they would teach the curriculum,
Correct.
except for your guest appearances
Correct.
on these
Correct.
topics.
Correct.
So it's really helping them jumpstart and re-implement.
So they'll be hiring, or their teacher will be teaching this, not
They
you.
already have a teacher on board, but he's just never taught it before, and I have. So they asked me to help, yes.
Okay, because like I said, I'm just kind of concerned about the blurring of lines between the county and the school district.
So
I think it's a positive thing that the school wants our help and to engage more with the youth. That's a relationship I've been building for years. I think it's a very positive thing.
yeah, I'm not so concerned about that because it's not being in there teaching it day in, day out. It's helping them develop it. And I don't think she is a public health director for the county. So I think if they've asked, you're saying they've asked for this.
Yes.
I
And
don't,
just that we
yeah.
keep that line. I mean, I really don't want you in there teaching it because that's not your job.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be like 2 or 3 classes that I would assist with regarding substance use abuse, because that's in line with this grant.
So going back to the funding, I'm pondering this reimbursement part, but I know here your grants work under public health. So is the thought that with grants ending, that this would be a way to fill in what's ending? So that would retain your current staffing and your current staffing. So that's not a bad thing.
Correct.
And it's 5 years if granted. And how much per year? It depends on your budget because this is higher and then you had, and I don't have that in front of me, but you had given us the 5 years.
Minimum up to 400,000 max
Per year.
per year.
Okay, so I guess let's play devil's advocate and you don't get it. Then do we see the reduction of these same amounts on G or just zeros?
I'm sorry, which amounts?
If we don't, in your G column.
In the G column? Right, so no, so the salaries would stay the same. Those have already been budgeted for. The youth program staff has already been budgeted for. What would zero out would be the consultant. And then the other, with the behavioral health website would be zeroed out, but the life skills and the Healthy Kids Colorado, those would just have to come out of my existing budget, that 12,000. And these are all estimates,
So everything's all budgeted. So really,
except for the consultant.
except for the consultant, but getting the grant or not really doesn't make a difference.
Correct. We would still be doing the work. It would just, the public health agency fund would be depleted over the next 5 years, and this would help reimburse it.
And then you would also be looking for other grants to help retain your current level of
Always.
staffing,
Always.
if not this one.
Correct. Always. But this is a brand new opportunity. Like I said, they rolled in it's taking the place of the substance abuse block grant and the Communities That Care Coalition. So this is why we're back, and this is why we're still talking about it, because I think it'd be a mistake to miss out on this since it's a 5-year opportunity.
That one grant is going away and
The substance abuse block grant is going away in 2027.
2026 June, but then our challenge grant starts up in July.
And goes
Or
through,
they start
yeah.
action, but our budget ratchets.
So could I ask a
Yeah,
couple questions? So obviously this is the first time I'm seeing this, so I haven't had any time digging into any of this. So this is speaking for the first time for the board. So my initial questions would be, and it's important to reference the positions and not the names of the people in these roles. And for the community health specialist and the public health director, youth program staff, that equals a full 1.0 FTE from the grant. How much of those positions are we getting paid for grant now? Are we exceeding the 100%? So that's my question, getting the confirmation of that. And then my second question is capacity, because my understanding is public health is at or above capacity. You stated here that you have the bandwidth for essentially 0.75 FTE now to take on these additional duties, and then that's a contradictory understanding of my understanding here. So a 0.75 excess capacity is a lot. So there would be broader conversation if we don't move forward with the grant regarding the excess capacity. So I just wanted to raise those two things and ask the question mainly about the grant level, whether if we're exceeding the 100%. I know there's the 48%, I believe, starting in July. But I think that information is pretty relevant, so we don't exceed the 100% for the staffing level. And then really, I just have a broad concern about the capacity, whether this moves forward or not, that we need to look into it further. So I just took the community health specialist of 0.5 and the
Right.
public health director of 0.25,
0.25.
and that's the 0.75 for public health. And then the remaining number is the youth program staff. And I have the same question about that, about how much of that is covered under the grant. In my mind, if I saw, again, I didn't have any prior conversations regarding this, of basically coming in for a one FTE that could be covered on the grant, it's wondering about the overall capacity and what are they going to be giving up to offset this amount of time. This is a significant amount of time, especially in public health with Office of 3.
Still seeing, still like 0.25 and 0.5 would be 0.3.
0.75.
0.75.
So if you take the community health specialist,
Oh, it's 0.50. I see.
yes.
And so I know there's some work that you've explained in the Board of Health meetings that's been completed. So then that presents some capacity to do the work. Did you not say in the work session that you could do the bulk of this work with your current staffing without any additional funding? So I think that's kind of the query.
Well, we wouldn't have, sure, the staffing has already been allocated, but the other, we wouldn't achieve the indirect rate, which would go into the Public Health Agency Fund. We wouldn't, having a consultant would give us a much better chance of this coalition gaining traction over the next 2 years. And then the other items at the bottom would not be covered. The behavioral health website is something I firmly believe in will help move the behavioral health landscape in our county. We still have major issues in this county with people being isolated and not being connected to services. So this work needs to be done. It just won't be done as effectively without this grant. It can't not be done. I'm not going to have all these partners coming into our county who don't know each other and don't know our county. They're not going to be successful. I'm trying to support them as well.
So going back to the question that was asked in the work session and kind of rephrased here, since the public health specialist is funded through next July, what is that person going to not do in order to do this?
She's funded to the end of this year. It's not based on grant. So it was through 2025 that she was, this 0.48% of her salary won't be covered starting January 2026. So this is just, it's, when we go over the public health agency budget at the next Board of Health meeting, I can show you how all the staff's apportioned out across all of the grants. But that is, first of all, we're not double dipping. That's my responsibility, my legal responsibility. My salary is not 100% grant funded, so this would take over more of it, 0.25, and we're just moving it over from another grant from Marie's. So Marie has the capacity. I've checked in with her. She is now almost, I'm sorry, you're right, the community health specialist, excuse me. She is just coming up on 2 years in the position. So a lot of the first year to year and a half was her learning all the various aspects of her job. She's now much more competent, and she definitely has the bandwidth, or I would not be suggesting we take on this new work. And I do as well because of the efficiency of my 2 new staff, which I did not have before. They're both doing great, and that has eased up a lot of time.
So, Dr. Chisholm, so how will this help you next year versus, it sounds like after next year, and then as the next year, the grant is expiring, one of them, this will help continue that work. for another-
Exactly. So it's basically just like a reimbursement mechanism that we can use for grants. So we're already doing the work. And if we have multiple grants, then you just have to make sure you're not double dipping and make sure you're asking for certain amounts for the whole salary of somebody. So, and usually we don't ask for 100% salary just because they're doing a lot of other things and wearing many hats. So we would have to switch around probably one of our budgets a little bit. But again, they've always been willing and open to do that, just so we can make sure that we're getting multiple grants at the same time.
Right. And Gabriel, I just lumped the youth program staff into that 0.25, but that could be divided between Jake and Britton.
So that would
Yeah.
be 2 people, probably, Jake and Britton. Yeah,
Divided.
What are their titles?
I'm sorry.
Your titles, the 2 people?
I'm sorry. Rec generalist 2 and youth supervisor.
So the youth program staff would be divided between those 2. Okay.
Do you have more?
No, I'm totally, as I said, totally in favor of allowing them to at least apply for this grant. I do want to thank my fellow commissioners for letting they bring this forward again.
Well, now from time to time, there are things that are important to one of us, and it's a good time to discuss it, talk it out. So, guess I'm still not really clear on the community health specialist. I thought that it was said earlier, and I wrote it down, that the funding was through July, but now you're saying the funding is only through December. So are we reducing that in our budget? I don't
No,
think
see,
we
that's
did.
budgetary is not matching.
So that staff position is essential for us to do the work that we're
I'm talking
doing.
about the budgeting. When does the money end for that position?
Not all of the money, but 0.47 of it was through the 5-year CDC infrastructure grant. And the way that we did the budget for that ends at the December, her portion of it, that will receive our final payment for that grant. That was one of those grants where we were getting lump sums, and there's a payment schedule, and I was going to go over that with you at the Board of Health meeting when we go over the entire public health budget. But the last payment for that grant comes in this year, and it's offsetting 47% of the community health specialist salary.
So that would be, that position potentially could be reduced by half if there's no funding to fund half of it. I know you
We have
mentioned-
funding in the Public Health Agency Fund. That's what
you
that's
mentioned
for.
that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not going to
Um,
reduce that staff.
When will you know about this grant, and when would funding be received?
January.
For which?
For this grant is when the awards will be in January of 2026. Mhm.
And it's due on Monday, Tuesday?
Monday at 5. I've already started filling out the application. The-
At 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of bad form to apply for a grant and then say no thanks if you get granted. Do you have the capacity to finish this grant by Monday at 5? Because you'll have to weigh in as well.
Yeah, I think so, between Jake and I, but Elisa has taken the lead for the full grant application. But I think we've already put together a significant amount of information for the staff report.
And I thought he mentioned you were still working on the, some of the narrative
I think.
that came across. And so,
So typically, if we had a resolution for this, the resolution would both direct staff to apply for the grant as well as to accept the money and process it. And so if the board is so inclined, since we don't have any written resolution, some clarity in regards to that would be requested if you want to move forward with this.
Okay, so just to recap my key points. So it's a reimbursement grant, same as other public health grants.
Some are and some aren't. We have both types.
Pardon?
We have reimbursement, but we also have grants that
Right.
just pay on a quarterly or payment schedule. We have
Right,
both.
But like the reimbursement one, so it's similar.
Yes.
And those have been dependable to date.
Yes.
It doesn't require hiring a new FT, which was a no-go for us, but it doesn't require that. Correct?
well,
It does, my understanding, it doesn't require a new hire, but as I read the grant, it did require one person be devoted, but it sounds like conversations were had where it could be split. But just my reading of the grant as is said that it needed to be one person FTE. And so I think from the work session, my understanding wasn't the hiring, it was the devotion of the one person. And that's just how I read the grant, but I also wasn't involved in the other conversations that have been had, so.
And those were at the Colorado Public Health level. So others are being creative and allowed to be creative.
Yes. Especially smaller counties like ours. There's 25 pages of FAQs. And most of the questions were about staffing because many other agencies were concerned about the requirement for staffing. Most agencies cannot afford, even the larger agencies. Maybe some of the very largest would hire for this, but CDPHE understands that there's different needs with smaller agencies. We have to spread our work. There's many different things we can do in public health, and grants help us focus what we're being funded to do.
So your reserve fund is, that's at 300,000 right now?
Mhm.
And some of this grant would help build that up again?
Correct.
And that is
Especially
used
the
mainly
indirect.
for emergency or for reimbursing?
It's for situations. So public health is an essential core service. It's mandated by law. Certain aspects of the work that we do, probably 80% of the work we do is mandated. Communicable disease control, immunizations, things like that. It's to, not all counties have a fund balance, but when there is a fund balance, it's reserved for those times when there might be a shortfall, including staffing.
yeah. But any money for this grant needs to go for the grant programming. It's not up for,
Dedicated.
yeah, it's
Well, you're
dedicated
just-
usage.
It's dedicated uses for specific outcomes and I don't know if you call it a scope of work in these, but that's the way grants work is you get the money to do X, Y, and Z.
Could the
not A, B, and
indirect,
C.
could the indirect rate be used to build up the
Correct.
reserve fund?
Yes. Right. And the indirect goes up the more we apply. This is a minimal application because we are already staffed and we don't have to hire staff. That's why they made it between 160 and 400,000 because some agencies would hire brand new staff and want to cover their salary and benefits, but we do not need to.
So what is the total that you would apply for?
Well, in this proposed budget, it's about 179,000.
For the 5 years.
No, for the first year.
Right,
We'd have
no,
to
what-
evaluate after the first year.
So
We
what's
don't,
the total you're applying for in the grant? Do you have to tell them?
you only tell them for the first year. Because they know things change. All my grants budgets change every year and I shift things around from one to the other depending on what covers what.
So then you would apply for more down the road, more
We could,
funding
if we had the need.
up to whatever, 400.
If I had more office space, I could have another FT. I could have more than enough work public health if we weren't landlocked. That would be a proposal in future years, but I'm not considering that now.
I guess I find that curious. Usually in a grant, even if it's multi, you apply for a maximum, then they grant you an amount and then you do a annual budget.
Because CDPHE decides every year how much they will have to allocate to this fund, to this grant. They may lower it next year. They have to retain their flexibility as well.
So you're really only applying for this bottom line number for 2026.
Correct.
Is that going to be helpful to Parks and Recreation if the main focus is going to be on the coalition?
That'll be fine. I think because when you're doing, there are 3 different options for this grant, and option A says coalition building and then programming, and we're already doing that, and we're already funding through that through a different grant. So then in the further years, we can add more to the budget.
Coalition, programming, and what's the third?
Staffing.
Policy and system change initiatives. Those are the 3 things in option A. Multi-sector coalition, policy and system change initiatives, evidence-based prevention programs.
I'm just going to go back to the rural resort. That wouldn't be an action that public health would be taking with community development. There are other implications to the county to be designated rural resort. That would have to be something that would have to discuss with the board, because we hear in our commissioner meetings statewide pros and cons of rural resorts. So please don't pursue that any further.
I won't. I just asked Director to look into it, but thank you for that direction. We will apply just as rural then. We have that classification already.
I know there was another grant in the past that it was beneficial to be rural and not rural resort. So we need to delve into that more.
Okay.
All right, well, does anyone want to make a motion on this, or do we want to forego it? What is the thinking?
Would, because of the time limits, would we have to make a resolution?
Well, I think we're just asking for a direction, and that the clarity is to apply or not to apply. And if it's not to apply, no resolution is needed. But if the action of the board is to apply, the request is that you're directing staff to apply for the application. The clarity question is, do you want just them to apply, or do you want them to move forward and accept it, which is typically the language in the resolutions?
Okay, well, I would be in favor of applying and accepting.
Right, do I have a second? Okay, I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Opposed?
All right, that motion carries 2-1. We'll see what happens with that, and thanks for all this discussion. I know it's still a little fuzzy, but
Yeah.
good luck.
And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, point of clarification here. I know when you did your opposition, you got to make a statement as to why, and so I feel it's important. I'll make one. I'm not opposed to the grant itself, but I think it's wasn't clear, or the roundabout way that this secondary approval came about. I have concerns that there was some things that were done without a public meeting and public viewing, so I do have concerns with that. And also, I just think it's important that when we are making these kinds of budgetary considerations, that everything be done in the public view and not being, we gave strict direction, and we did have a staff member who put in time and then gave us the opinion, and then we just kind of shoved that to the side, and the direction was kind of gone around by a director, and I don't feel that that's a good precedent that should be set.
All right, thank you for that. I have a different opinion, but I will share it, just keep it to myself about the process not being done publicly. All right,
So we will bring a resolution. I'll ask Director Witt and Yeah, probably best, Director Witt, to bring a resolution for the consent agenda at the next meeting to confirm. So you're going to see that resolution at that point, likely on the consent, since it's just ratifying the direction received.
Should we do it at the Board of Health meeting?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
Because the Board of Health is responsible for public health agency funds.
But the policy says the board gives direction for grant applications.
So they can go ahead and do the process of applying?
They're going to move forward.
Yeah, sometimes we do resolution
Yeah.
after the fact. It's better to do them before the fact, but sometimes thereafter.
The resolution being retroactive to the application, which is the direction of the board, which can be done informally. And then the acceptance of the money would be in it, which is prospective. So I think the timing's going to be okay.
Okay,
We'll
thank
just
you.
Make sure that they get on consent.
Yeah, by state law, the acceptance of the money should be through the Board of Health. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time. Next on our agenda, we have the county attorney's report. Is there anything you'd like to highlight?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since last we spoke, the contract work has kind of exploded. We worked on 10 different contracts. I had promised that we'd get BBA out as of, we did get it out that day. It came back, they accepted the terms. That one's ready to go to formally engage them on more or less a work order basis.
Do you have your mic on?
Yeah, I don't, maybe it's not. So we made some edits to the VBA contract, sent it out. We got it back. They accepted those terms. That's pretty much ready to go. And that would have them doing work for the county on a work order basis, as opposed to sort of serving as it's almost an independent department of the county. We have all these other things in the work or already out the door. Some of them are being handled background by Jack Reutzel from my office. We also provided legal advice on litigation and other matters. We provided advice for the Board of Assessment Appeals, for the Assessor's Office, and we gave you sort of the procedures sheet for dealing with variances. Other than that, we continue to work on revisions to the land use code, and we are ready to stand for any questions if you have any.
Are there any questions? All right, hearing no questions, we'll move on to the county manager's report. Are there things you'd like to highlight?
Areas of highlight, you have the full report for the work session on November 4th. Looking at adding the fee schedule. Community development is working on the fee schedule as well as with the truck routes. So that likely will be in addition to the two other items there. I also am working with the sheriff's office. There might be a additional item on the work session related to the sheriff's office, but to be determined on exactly that. Public health and the well testing, it's the wells in the areas have tested safe, so there's no broader concern. Working with the closest well to the leak to resolve any issues. The interviews for the finance director, assistant county manager, second round will be conducted this week. The December 16th commissioner meeting has been canceled. And then the next work session regarding the budget is November 5th from noon to 4. I'll stand for any questions you may have.
I have one question. I've been talking to some other county commissioners and they hold a public hearing for their budget. One of them thought that we were required to do that. I don't know that we typically do that. Is that
I do believe we do a
statutory?
public hearing for the budget, yes.
Do you know when that will be?
It would be on that, so the calendar has been established, would be on December 15th, Monday, December 15th.
The same day that we hope to pass it, but we'll have the public hearing that same day. It'll
Yes.
be a hearing.
It will
It'll
be
be
a hearing
posted
for
as a
adoption.
hearing.
Right.
Okay, thank you. I didn't understand it that way, so thanks. All right, now we have another opportunity for public or press comment.
Sounds good. One question. So the second round interviews are still pending?
I'm sorry?
Second round interviews with the finance director position?
Yeah.
Assistant county manager?
So there were some conflict, some of the applicants, so we have delayed them. So this will be the second round.
Process.
Anything else? All right. Now we have an opportunity for public or press comment. They're online.
We're on.
Yeah. Anyone online?
No one has raised their hand.
All right, we'll close the public comment period then. And next we have the list of our meetings that 2 or more of us may attend. I have a list. I also want to say that we had the opportunity to be on a Zoom at 1 o'clock regarding more state funding updates. So that's in 6 minutes. If we want to try to do that, we might keep our reports shorter. So I have down Wednesday, October 29th, multi-jurisdictional housing public meeting, and that's here, correct, at 6 o'clock?
I don't have it on my calendar, but I
Yeah.
believe that is the case.
All right. The work session, the 4th, November 4th and 5th were already mentioned. On November 5th, there's a residential code recommended updates public meeting, and that's here, I believe, at 6 o'clock as well. And Veterans Day is November 11th. And then November 12th, we had the South Beaver Creek Road Engineering Study public meeting. And that's at here or
Yes, courthouse at 6 o'clock.
courthouse. All right. And then 2 or more of us may be attending the Counties and Commissioners Acting Together retreat. They have a winter retreat and then move forward to November 18th work session.
So correction, the building code is at 5 o'clock.
That's tonight or tomorrow night?
I
Or
don't,
is that next Wednesday?
November 5th, according to the
So
flyers.
that'd be the next Wednesday.
yes, next Wednesday at 5.
5 o'clock? Might be able to make some of that.
And then since we're all together, I've talked off and on with County Manager Rears. Do we want to schedule the NOCO Executive Director, JD Tanner, to come and just have some time in one of our regular meetings? He's gone around to the other counties in NOCO. And he just, to talk about what they're doing. By then, they'll know about the grant that they applied for. And just to highlight, because he's newer now, he's just been there for 6 weeks, I think. Would we like to schedule him on one of our agendas? Do you have any interest? Do you have any interest for JD Tanner? He's the executive director of NOCO, sort of new. He's been going to all the other counties, jurisdictions, just doing a
Yeah, I think
Q&A.
Yes, yeah, we'll see the availability or how long, what else is on the agendas for November or maybe the December meeting.
So we'll schedule him up. Okay. All right, thank you. Now there are commissioner reports. It's 12:57. Do you want to report in? I know that our list doesn't make it into the minutes.
Well, just quickly, we've all been busy with budget work sessions and going over budgets, have attended CC4CA alternative energy meetings that have been interesting, different possibilities there. The Triad Bright Futures Mountain Group meetings, they're planning on some activities for toddlers and had a lot of fun at the Creepy Crawl on the 24th. Fun to see everyone dressed up, and I think the kids had it a blast and consumed a lot of candies, so it was good.
Yes, I was passing out candy. It was astronomical. Commissioner?
So I had a couple CEC4CA webinars and the CCI update on SNAP that we all, I think, well, I was on. I think
Mhm.
the others were on also. Wednesday, I tuned into a webinar with Senator Hickenlooper. I was talking about the funding problems they're having and then I had a CC4CA funding office short webinar. And then, let's see, Monday I was a system bridge program, innovative thing I tuned into, which inventories, inspects and elevates and replacing major structures. It's a very important, the off-system bridge program. And that's, with our infrastructure in this state, it's you know, it's a crucial thing, our infrastructure, so.
Okay, so I attended Mountain Rail Coalition, gave a really great update. Director Boyle was able to tune in with me, and so luckily, because she had slides to share, which I didn't, but it was nice to give a update on the coalition, and we're moving quicker than some other communities. Also was on the same CCI meetings. I did attend the Central City Council virtually because they have a lot of topics coming up that have interest to the public. So I like to listen to the public comment. Also was on the Hickenlooper Public Land Zoom, more problems and solutions, I would say, offered in that one. Then I attended the COSA, which is the solar storage group for Colorado. They gave renewable energy accomplishments, updates, challenges, and goals for the state. And Casey Becker is the CEO of that. Had some NOCO meetings. Had our CTSI quarterly meeting on workers' compensation insurance trends in the state. And law enforcement is still the most challenging to find entities that want to cover. So they keep working it out year over year, but it's getting harder. Luckily, Gilpin County has no claims in any of our departments. Yeah, and then yesterday I was at the Colorado Opioid Abatement Conference all day, and that was posted by A.G. Weiser, who does that annually. Was that a ghost up there? I heard the running around.
Oh.
I see. All right. Okay.
I know, right?
Anything else? Anything else?
That was it.
All right. Well, with no further business before us, we adjourn this meeting at 1:01. Thank you.
See, thanks, Greg.